Every angler remembers the one that got away. Most of the time, it wasn't bad luck, it was a mistake they didn't even know they were making. The fish was right there. Then it wasn't. And that gap between almost and actually landing it, that's where beginners live. Here are 10 mistakes that cost beginners the biggest fish and how to stop making them before your next trip. First up, dull hooks. It sounds obvious, but a hook that can't scratch your thumbnail won't set in a fish's mouth either. Run your hook across your thumbnail. If it slides without catching, it's done. Swap it out. Takes 30 seconds and saves the whole trip. Mistake 2 is casting too hard. Power doesn't help here. Timing and rod flex do all the work. A hard cast just spooks the fish. Fish near structure, docks, weed edges, submerged rocks. You're placing bait, not launching it into open water hoping something finds it. Number 3, reeling too fast right after the cast. That first second of stillness is often when the biggest fish commits. Don't rush it. Mistake 4 is wrong drag settings. Recommended drag is roughly 1/3 of your line's breaking strength. Not cranked tight, not loose enough to slip freely. A guide lost a tournament winning bass because boat vibration loosened his drag during transit. He forgot to check before the first cast. Gone. 5th mistake, staying too long in dead water. If nothing happens in 15 to 20 minutes, move. Fishing is about locating fish, not waiting them out. 6th mistake is setting the hook wrong. No tension means no connection. Reel down first, create tension, then lift firmly. That sequence matters every time. Setting too early pulls the bait out mid-test. Setting too late lets the fish drop it. The window is short and timing beats strength every time. Mistake 7. High sticking. Lifting your rod straight up concentrates all the pressure at the weakest point, the tip. Keep the rod at roughly a 45-degree angle during the fight. Let the drag do its job. Don't muscle the fish, guide it. Number 8, mismatched gear. A bait casting reel on a spinning rod isn't just ineffective. One angler did exactly that in front of a tournament pro. 3 casts in. You don't need a $700 rod to catch fish. But your rod, reel, and line need to match each other. Mismatched gear kills your presentation. 9th mistake, ignoring bait presentation. A soft plastic rigged even slightly crooked moves unnaturally. Fish notice. They've been eating real things their whole lives. Check your bait every few casts. Weeds, damage, a twisted line, any of it makes your lure look wrong. Clean presentation gets more bites, full stop. The 10th mistake is the one that ties everything else together, not replacing old line. Worn line breaks at the worst possible moment, always. Replace your line every 3 to 6 months, depending on how often you fish. Cheap line costs more in lost fish than quality line ever costs at the store. Most beginners focus on one thing, bait or location, and ignore everything else working against them. It's always a combination of small things adding up. The fish aren't the problem. The setup, the timing, the technique, that's where the real game is played. Fix the small stuff and the big fish follow. Every one of these mistakes is fixable. None of them require expensive gear or years of experience. Just awareness and one better decision at a time. One thing beginners almost never think about is knot strength. A knot tied dry loses up to 30% of its rated strength before the fish even shows up. Wet your knot before tightening it, every time. Friction heat from a dry cinch weakens the line right at the connection point, exactly where you can't afford it. There's also the knot selection problem. Beginners learn one knot and use it for everything. But a Palomar knot and an improved clinch aren't interchangeable. Conditions decide. Midday fishing is another quiet killer. Fish push deep when the sun is high and the water warms. You're casting into empty water and wondering why nothing bites. Early morning and late evening aren't just folklore. That's when fish actively feed near the surface. Show up at 6, not 10. The window closes fast. Beginners also fish the prettiest water instead of the productive water. A scenic open cove looks great. Fish live where food lives. Watch the birds before you cast. Diving terns, circling herons, gulls working a patch of water, they're reading the same food chain you're trying to find. Grabbing the line to land a fish is one of those mistakes that feels instinctive. One Colorado bank angler did it, snapped the line and lost the fish and the entire rig. Use a net or wet your hand and grip the fish properly. Grabbing line under pressure is just handing the fish its exit. It will take it. Something that rarely gets mentioned: storing soft plastics together. Z-Man baits and standard plastics chemically react when touching. One angler opened his tackle box to a melted mess. Keep different plastic brands in separate bags. It takes 10 seconds to sort them. Losing a full tray of rig baits mid-trip is a much worse problem. Not reading water depth is another gap. Fish move vertically more than most beginners realize. The same spot that held bass at 7 feet yesterday might be empty at noon. A depth finder doesn't have to be expensive. Even a basic one tells you whether you're fishing a flat bottom or a ledge. That information changes everything. Using the same lure all day is comfortable but costly. Fish pattern match fast. After an hour on the same retrieve, the bite usually dies, and beginners keep going anyway. Change color, change depth, change speed. If something feels off, swap the bait before you swap the location. The fish might still be there, just uninterested in what you're throwing. Weather shifts matter more than most beginners account for. A cold front moving through drops surface temperature fast. Fish go inactive, and the technique that worked yesterday simply won't. After a front passes, slow down everything. Slower retrieve, lighter bait, longer pauses. Fish aren't gone, they're just not chasing. Make it easy for them to eat. Skipping casting practice before a real trip is a preparation mistake that shows up immediately. The first 30 minutes of a guided trip shouldn't be your warm-up session. 10 minutes of backyard practice before a trip is worth more than an hour of frustrated casting on the water. Muscle memory doesn't build itself on the day you need it. There's a mindset trap too. Social media shows pros landing giants on every clip. Those same pros get completely skunked on regular days, they just don't post it. Unrealistic expectations make beginners quit too early, both on a single trip and on fishing altogether. Patience isn't passive, it's an active part of the technique. If you have the right technique at the right time, those trophies will come. Ian Rubin wrote in Florida Sportsman, "Chasing a trophy every trip just accelerates the mistakes. The anglers who improve fastest aren't the ones with the best gear. They're the ones who notice what went wrong and change one thing before the next cast. Every trip gives you information. The fish that got away told you something. The question is whether you were paying attention when it did." Rod tip pointing directly at the bait is a mistake that kills your reaction time. When a fish hits, there's nothing left to absorb the strike. Keep a slight bend in rod during the retrieve. That flex is your buffer. It's the difference between a solid hookup and a pulled bait. Splashy casts and calm, shallow water push fish away before the retrieve even starts. The entry matters as much as where the lure lands. Aim for a soft entry, lure first, minimal splash. In clear, still water, fish feel the disturbance before they see anything. Not researching a spot before arriving is a preparation gap most beginners skip entirely. Satellite maps, local forums, even recent fishing reports take 15 minutes. Showing up blind to unfamiliar water means your first hour is just orientation. That's an hour of productive fishing time handed back to the lake. Fly fishing has its own version of every mistake, and drag-free drift is the one that costs the most fish. A dragging fly gets refused almost every time. Mending the line upstream corrects the drift before drag sets in. Most beginners wait too long, then wonder why the trout ignored a perfect pattern. Wet lures stored back in a closed tackle box rust hooks overnight. One damp compartment can ruin a dozen rigs before the next trip starts. Dry your lures before closing the box. A quick wipe takes seconds. Replacing a full tray of corroded hooks takes money and time you didn't plan to spend. Line weight mismatches hurt more than most beginners realize. Heavy line on a light action rod kills sensitivity. You stop feeling subtle bites entirely. Match line weight to the rod's rated range. It's printed on the blank. Ignoring it doesn't just hurt casting, it disconnects you from what's happening underwater. Ignoring what the guide says is expensive. Anglers who follow guide instruction catch 30 to 50% more fish than those who fish their own way. Guides read water for a living. When one tells you to slow down or move 2 feet left, there's a reason. That reason usually has fins. Adrenaline causes more lost fish than bad technique. The moment a big fish hits, beginners speed everything up, reel faster, pull harder, panic. Slow down when a big fish is on. Breathe, let the rod and drag do the work they were built for. Rushing is how hooks tear out. Not observing actual feeding behavior before casting is a common shortcut. That Colorado angler casting dry flies to surface rises. The fish were eating bait fish, not insects. Spent 2 minutes watching before the first cast. What's breaking the surface? Where are the bait fish? The answer changes everything about what you tie on. Cotton clothing is a preparation mistake that turns uncomfortable fast. Wet cotton stays wet and cold. On a long day on the water, that becomes a real problem. Synthetic or merino wool layers manage moisture and keep you functional. Comfort affects focus, and focus affects every decision you make on the water. Over-tightening the line while reeling during a fight is a pressure spike waiting to happen. The fish surges, the line has nowhere to go, and something breaks. When a fish runs, let it run. Palming the spool or forcing the reel against a strong fish is how you lose both the fish and your confidence. Success in fishing is often subtle. Mistakes are loud. That line from fishes here sticks because it's accurate, the errors announce themselves, the wins don't. The gap between a beginner and a confident angler isn't talent, it's accumulated small corrections, each trip a little cleaner than the last. Tipping a guide is something most beginners never think about. Skip it and that guide remembers, your next trip gets noticeably less effort. 15 to 20% of the trip cost, in cash, is standard. It's not charity, it's how guides know you value their work. Strip setting versus rod tip setting is a distinction most beginners never learn. For streamers in saltwater, a strip set keeps the fly in the fish's mouth. A violent rod sweep on a take pulls the fly clean out. The fish felt it for half a second, then it was gone. Depth wins in stillwater. Brian Chan built an entire teaching philosophy around it. Fish suspended at the wrong depth simply won't eat your fly. Count your fly down to the fish's level before retrieving. Guessing depth and hoping is just expensive casting practice with no feedback. Kayak transport mistakes cost more than fish. One angler ran highway speeds with a loaded kayak and improper straps. Friction melted part of the hull. Cardboard between the strap and hull prevents contact damage. It takes 1 minute to add and saves a repair bill that runs into hundreds of dollars. Pre-tied rigs feel convenient but cost more over time. Learning to tie your own knots means you know exactly what strength you're fishing with. No knot is best for all fishing styles. Guidesley's education team put it plainly. Conditions decide the knot, not habit. Hammer setting on a light tippet is a fast way to lose both the fish and the fly. 5-weight tippet doesn't forgive a hard swing. Mother Nature is my business partner, one Florida guide said. Conditions change daily. The angler who adapts catches fish. The one who doesn't goes home empty. Getting distracted by a fishing companion is more costly than it sounds. Missed strikes happen in under a second. Conversation fills that window fast. Keep the social part for the drive home. On the water, one eye stays on the line. That's not antisocial, that's just how it works. Wind lanes concentrate food on the surface. Beginners ignore them. Experienced anglers position right along the edge and work it methodically. Weed beds aren't obstacles, they're addresses. Bass, pike, and perch use them as cover and ambush points. Cast to the edge, not past it. Quick change swivels without silicone sleeves can slip under pressure. Nash documented this in product testing. The connection holds until it suddenly doesn't. Small rigging details like that don't feel important until a big fish exposes them. Check every connection before the first cast, not after the first loss. Every angler starts somewhere, and every angler makes mistakes. The ones who improve are simply the ones who stay curious. Keeping a simple log, spot, time, bait, result turns random trips into actual data. The fish aren't random, they're predictable once you have enough information to see the pattern. That information only comes from paying attention consistently. None of this requires expensive gear, guided trips, or years on the water. It requires showing up with the right habits already in place. The fish are out there. The mistakes covered here are the only things standing between a beginner and a genuinely great day on the water. If this helped, share it with someone who's just getting started. If you want to learn more, then go watch this video where I tell the biggest scams beginners fall for when buying their fishing gear.